Hello, I'm Amy the Bunny Lady, and this is my partner Elusive, Ellie for short. Give me a kiss. Good job, good job. And today we're going to talk to you about Easter bunnies. Should you get a rabbit for Easter, or is it better to not? If you're interested about more videos about rabbits and rabbit care and rabbit training and facts and anything along those lines, hit the little subscription button over here and the bell next to it so that you can be notified as soon as we bring out a new video, which is every week, I promise. So let's talk about the problem with Easter bunnies. Now, normally I am totally for rabbit care. I think they are amazing pets and more people really should consider them as an option instead of a cat or dog. However, Easter is not the greatest time for rabbits, and here's why. Many people will choose to go and get an Easter bunny on a whim. They won't do their research to know how to take care of a rabbit, and they'll think that rabbits are easy first-time pets that don't require all that much care, and it ends up being really bad for the rabbit in the long term. Statistically, rabbits are actually the third most common pet in animal shelters behind cats and dogs, and consequently they're also the third most euthanized pet, unfortunately. And a lot of this has to do with the massive amount of rabbits that are brought home during the Easter holiday. Usually a few months after Easter, there ends up being a flood of rabbits into animal shelters, and they just can't take them all because it's just too many rabbits. And sometimes it's baby rabbits coming in too because people didn't get their rabbit spayed or neutered, and now there's even more rabbits coming in to the shelter system. Or sometimes even worse, people will choose to set their rabbit free outside and expect them to, behave like a wild rabbit. They just don't have the wild instincts at the level that they need to survive in the wild. So setting a rabbit free is basically giving them a death sentence and some very stressful last days. Bringing a rabbit back to the shelter is definitely a better option than setting them free. But to start with, you want to do some research before you choose to bring a rabbit home. Rabbits and children. Sometimes children will beg their parents for a rabbit on Easter because rabbits are just so cute and fluffy and they want to cuddle with a cute little Easter bunny. I've done a whole video for this on the past of children and rabbits, and for the most part I have to say that I don't think rabbits are great pets for children, especially not for young children. Instead, rabbits should be considered more as family pets, and it's okay if children are like the helpers, but adults should definitely be taking primary responsibility as caretakers for rabbits. I love you, silly. Rabbits are not great pets for children because rabbits are actually very fragile. If a child squeezes them, then it can actually very much hurt the rabbit, like break their back, hurt them. Rabbits are also scared of loud noises and fast movements, so a lot of kids can be pretty loud or running around being pretty hectic, and that can be very stressful for a rabbit, and better if they are kept in a quiet, calm environment. And in addition, rabbits really do take a lot of responsibility, a lot more than people generally think. Giving your child a rabbit is asking them to pay attention to a very specific diet and paying attention to rabbits' energy levels to know, are they not feeling well today? Because if a rabbit gets sick, they need medical attention like right away. So it's a lot of responsibility for a child to take on. And I definitely don't recommend that people give their children rabbits as Easter bunnies, as Easter gifts. It should be a very thought out decision by the adults in the household, with an understanding that the adults, that you guys are taking care of them. So if you have a child who's asking for an Easter bunny, instead, unless you are actually willing to do the research and take care of this bunny, instead I would recommend getting them a stuffed rabbit or a chocolate rabbit. That's definitely a better option for the rabbit. It'll be safer in the long run, and child will be happy with a new toy or some chocolate, some yummy chocolate. Hi Sally, what's up? What's up? If you really are ready to do your research and get a rabbit and bring them into your household, then that's awesome. And I want to make sure that you have all the information that you need to have a successful bunny home. So let's get started on some tips or some information that you should know before you go and bring home a bunny. So first, it's important to know that rabbits actually have a rather long lifespan, or at least it's longer than people think. Rabbits have an average of about a 10-year lifespan. It varies a little bit by breed. Usually smaller breeds will have a longer lifespan than larger breeds, but you can consider a commitment of about 10 years. I had a rabbit that lived to 13, and we've had other rabbits in my family that live to 9, 8. You're going to expect that. If you're taking good care of your rabbit, not having any health issues, then you need to be ready for 10 years. Rabbits also have a very sensitive digestive system, so you need to keep them on a pretty strict diet. The number one most important food that you want to give your rabbit is actually this grass-based hay. You want to give them mostly Timothy hay, but you can add in some other hays like orchard hay, oat hay, that kind of thing. That's also healthy for them. Baby rabbits, so if you get a rabbit that is less than 6 months old, they're going to get mainly alfalfa hay, but as they reach 6 months old, you're going to want to transition them over to Timothy hay. You also want to make sure that your rabbit gets some fresh leafy greens every day. So greens like parsley, dandelion greens, basil, leafy lettuces, so not iceberg lettuce, but leafy lettuces. Other herbs are good. Carrot tops. The carrot itself is more of a treat, but the carrot tops are good for rabbits. You want to give them 1 to 2 cups of that every day. As the rabbit gets bigger, they can get more, so when they're babies, maybe a little bit less than that, but leafy greens are very important to make sure that rabbits have all of the nutrients that they need. Your rabbit should also have pellets in their diet. Not all that much. Most people will think, like a cat or dog, you can just fill up their bowl with pellets and then they'll eat it throughout the day. But if you do that, then they'll end up eating the pellets instead of the hay. So really what you want to do is only give them a little bit of Timothy-based pellets. So sometimes pet stores will sell those brands that have lots of fruity pieces in them, and those are bad for rabbits. So you want to get the ones that are just those plain brown pellets, and only a little bit of those per day. Again, for baby rabbits, you want it to be alfalfa-based, and since baby rabbits are growing, you can actually give them pretty much unlimited pellets. Just make sure that they are still eating hay also. You also, of course, need to make sure your rabbit always has water available. Generally, actually, a bowl is better than a bottle because it's a more natural way for rabbits to drink. So getting them a bowl is it'll be better for their hydration. However, sometimes rabbits can flip over their water bowls and stuff. So in those cases, you'll want to go for a very large water bottle, like 16 ounces or more. That way they don't get water everywhere and they will always have water available, and you don't have to worry about them flipping over their water bowl and no longer having water until you get home at the end of the day. That's a little tip for you on how to give your rabbit water. Hi, Sally. Next, let's talk about your rabbit's enclosure. Now, most pet stores sell enclosures that are too small for rabbits. You can get bigger cages, especially if you have a tiny rabbit. There are some cages that are actually big enough for them, but for the most part you're going to want to go online and find like X pens like this. It's usually marketed as an exercise pen, but you can turn that into its own enclosure, put an area rug down on the floor so that your rabbit won't damage the floor in their enclosure, and that'll be their home base. Because for rabbits, you want their enclosure to actually be 3 to 4 times the full length of the rabbit. Ellie here, she's a medium-sized rabbit, so she's not super large, but she's not tiny either. Her full length is right around a foot. and that's full length, stretched out. So from tippy toes to the end of their nose when they are sprawled out on the ground. For her being about a foot in length, I want an enclosure that's at least 3 to 4 feet long. Now, bigger is always better. Like for her, I have one that's about 6 feet long instead. But minimum, you want it to be 3 to 4 lengths of the rabbit. I also want to advocate for keeping your rabbit inside and not outside. Rabbits are much more likely to live a long and happy and healthy life indoors, because outside there are predators. The rabbit will get very stressed out by constantly being around the sight and the smell. So it is much safer for a rabbit inside than it is outside. And you'll have a better experience with your rabbit because they'll be more of a part of the family. Since you're keeping your rabbit inside, the other thing that you really need to think about is rabbit-proofing your home. You need to make sure that any wires are kept out of your rabbit's reach because they have a tendency to go and chew on wires. Keep them out of your rabbit's reach, and if you can't, cover them with plastic tubing so that your rabbit won't be able to get to the electrical wire part of it. You're also going to want to cover corners of rooms. Rabbits will try to dig into them, so putting either rugs down or just blocking those areas with furniture is very useful. Many rabbits will also try to chew on baseboards because they have a tendency to chew on things to keep their teeth from growing too long. You'll need to either block baseboards or find ways to keep your rabbit away from the baseboards so that they don't chew on them. Not all rabbits will chew on baseboards. I've definitely had rabbits in the past who they don't care about the baseboards. They're fine. They prefer to chew on other things. But Ellie here is a big baseboard chewer, and I know it can be a struggle. So finding ways to cover up and keep your rabbit away from them, it will be important if you have a bunny like Ellie. And you also want to make sure that any kind of like household plants that might be poisonous to rabbits or that you just don't want your rabbit to eat are out of the way. Make sure you don't give them human food or anything along those lines. Just make sure that anything dangerous is out of the rabbit's reach. Think of your rabbit like a little toddler. You'll have to baby-proof your house if you have a little toddler, or you'll have to bunny-proof your house if you have a little bunny. The other thing that you'll definitely want to make sure you think about is getting your rabbit spayed or neutered. This is actually very important for rabbits because especially female rabbits tend to have a lot of health problems. Depending on the breed of your rabbit, there's actually a 50 to 80% chance that a female rabbit is going to get some kind of reproductive cancer by the time they're 6 years old, which is, only about a little over half of their lifespan. So you definitely want to get them fixed. Getting your rabbit spayed and neutered also helps with some behavioral problems. Rabbits will have the tendency to be territorial, so they will spray urine in areas or scatter their poops around, and in some cases get aggressive if they feel like their territory is being invaded. To solve those behavioral issues, it is important that you get your rabbit spayed or neutered. If you're getting like a baby bunny that's maybe 2 to 4 months, then you'll want to get them spayed or neutered as soon as they reach maturity. That's usually around 4 months for male rabbits and around 6 months for female rabbits. Bring them to an appointment with your vet and they'll be able to help you get your rabbit fixed as soon as they're able to. Now I have one last piece of advice. Well, it's not really advice, it's more just like a consideration maybe. If you've done all your research and you know that you're ready to get a bunny, consider, instead of getting an Easter bunny right now, maybe wait a few months and then go to the shelter and adopt one of the bunnies there that was an Easter bunny and is now being abandoned. I think that is actually a much better idea. If you're the kind of person who's really willing to go and put in the research and make sure that you're making your home an awesome place for your rabbit, then I'm sure that these rabbits that have been abandoned at the shelter, they'll find a great home with you. There are a lot of rabbits that go into the shelter system, and need awesome families like you to come and bring them home. Just consider maybe, instead of getting an Easter bunny right now, just wait a couple months and then bring an Easter bunny home in July or August or something like that, because I know they'll really appreciate having a home like yours. And if you're interested in more information to help you on your journey to new bunny ownership, check out my other videos. I have like a bunch of videos that you can check out, and you can subscribe here and hit the little notification bell if you want more of my silly content with my lovely partner here. And I do hope that I'll see you next time, and I know that you will have, if not already, you will have an awesome bunny home. See you next time.